Your Honor, this thug was obviously high on drugs and threatening everyone around him. People like him always lie about police encounters because they can't accept responsibility for their criminal behavior. The vicious false testimony exploded through the courtroom as police officer Derek Martinez aggressively lied under oath about the black man's arrest. He pointed dismissively at the defendant with racist authority, completely unaware that his own body cam footage would expose every fabricated detail and result in federal perjury charges within 24 hours. Let me take you back to what really happened on that Tuesday afternoon when truth became a... Marcus Williams had been having the worst day of his life, and it was about to get infinitely worse. The 28-year-old software engineer had just left his job at TechFlow Solutions after being laid off in budget cuts. He was walking to his car in downtown Sacramento, still processing the shock of unemployment, when his phone rang. "Marcus, thank God you answered." His sister's, Keisha's, voice was panicked. "Dad's in the hospital. Heart attack. You need to get here now." The words hit him like a physical blow. Marcus ran to his Honda Accord, hands shaking as he tried to process the information. His father, Robert Williams, had been his hero, a man who'd worked 2 jobs to put Marcus through computer science school, who'd never missed a single graduation or achievement in his son's life. Marcus started driving toward Sacramento General Hospital, his mind racing with worry and fear. He was completely focused on getting to his father, following all traffic laws, when he noticed the police cruiser behind him. Officer Derek Martinez, 34, had been having a frustrating shift. 3 domestic violence calls where suspects had fled before his arrival, a homeless man who'd been uncooperative during a wellness check, and a traffic citation quota that his supervisor was pressuring him to meet. When he spotted the Honda Accord with a black driver, Martinez saw an opportunity. The traffic stop began routinely. Martinez activated his lights, and Marcus immediately pulled over, hands visible on the steering wheel. What happened next would change both their lives forever. "License and registration?" Martinez demanded as he approached the vehicle. "Yes, sir, absolutely," Marcus replied respectfully, reaching slowly for his wallet. "I'm heading to the hospital. My father just had a heart attack. I wasn't speeding, was I?" The body camera captured every second of the interaction, though he'd grown complacent about its presence. "I'll determine what you were doing wrong. Keep your hands where I can see them." "Of course, officer," Marcus said, handing over his documents. His voice carried worry, but remained completely cooperative. "Is it okay if I ask what this stop is for? I really need to get to Sacramento General." The body camera recorded Martinez examining the license. Marcus Williams, clean driving record, no warrants, employed at TechFlow Solutions. By any objective measure, this was a law-abiding citizen in distress about his father's medical emergency. But Martinez saw something different. He saw an opportunity to assert authority, to meet his citation quotas, to exercise the power that came with his badge. What he decided to do next would haunt him for the rest of his life. "Step out of the vehicle," Martinez ordered. "Sir, may I ask why? I've provided my license and registration, and I haven't violated any traffic laws that I'm aware of." The body camera captured Marcus's respectful tone, his compliance with every request, his obvious anxiety about his father's condition. It also captured Martinez's growing irritation with what he perceived as questioning his authority. "When I tell you to step out, you step out. Don't make this difficult." Marcus complied immediately, hands visible, movements slow and deliberate. "I'm sorry, officer. I'm just worried about my dad. I'll do whatever you need me to do." What happened next contradicted every principle of law enforcement training and constitutional policing. Despite Marcus's complete cooperation, despite the lack of any probable cause, Martinez decided to search the vehicle. "I'm detecting the odor of marijuana coming from your car," Martinez announced, a complete fabrication that his body camera would later prove false. "Officer, I don't use drugs. I'm a software engineer. You're welcome to search the car if you need to, but you won't find anything." Marcus said, his voice remaining respectful despite his growing confusion. Martinez searched the entire vehicle, finding nothing illegal. No drugs, no weapons, no contraband. The body camera captured his frustration as his fabricated probable cause yielded no evidence to justify his actions. That's when Martinez made the decision that would destroy his career. He decided to arrest Marcus anyway. "I'm reaching for your handcuffs," Marcus announced. "Sir, you didn't find any controlled substances. I've cooperated with everything you've asked. What obstruction?" The body camera captured this exchange clearly. Marcus's tone remained respectful, his questions legitimate. No reasonable person could interpret his behavior as obstructive or criminal. But Martinez was committed to his fabricated narrative. "Turn around and put your hands behind your back." Marcus complied without resistance, though his voice carried obvious distress. "Officer, my father is dying in the hospital. Can you please tell me what I've done wrong?" Martinez cuffed him and began the transport to the county jail, all while his body camera documented the truth that would later contradict every word of his eventual court testimony. The Sacramento County District Attorney's Office received Martinez's arrest report 3 days later. According to the officer's written statement, Marcus Williams had been stopped for erratic driving, appeared intoxicated, became belligerent during questioning, and was found in possession of marijuana. The report was convincing enough that Assistant District Attorney Jennifer Park filed charges: possession of a controlled substance, obstruction of justice, and disorderly conduct. In Martinez's written narrative, Marcus was portrayed as exactly the kind of defendant that prosecutors see daily: uncooperative, dishonest, probably guilty of exactly what he was charged with. Marcus, meanwhile, was struggling with a nightmare that seemed impossible to escape. His father had survived the heart attack, but the medical bills were mounting. Marcus had been fired from his job after the arrest. TechFlow Solutions couldn't risk employing someone with pending drug charges. His reputation in the tech community was destroyed before he could even defend himself. He scraped together enough money to hire Lisa Chen, a public defender who'd recently started her own practice. Lisa had seen too many cases where police reports didn't match reality, but she also knew how difficult it was to challenge law enforcement testimony in court. "Marcus, I believe you," Lisa said during their first meeting, "but we're going up against a police officer with 15 years of experience and no history of misconduct complaints. Juries tend to believe cops over defendants." "There has to be something," Marcus replied desperately. "He recorded everything with his body camera. Doesn't that prove I'm innocent?" Lisa shook her head. Body cameras had a remarkable tendency to malfunction during incidents where officers' conduct might be questionable. She filed a more aggressive motion, demanding that the court compel the police department to produce the original digital files. Martinez, meanwhile, was growing increasingly nervous. He'd never expected anyone to seriously challenge his arrest report. In his experience, defendants either pled guilty to lesser charges or lost at trial when it came down to his word against theirs. But he'd forgotten about his body camera. In 15 years of police work, he'd grown accustomed to the device, treating it just as another piece of equipment that rarely affected his cases. He'd never considered that the camera might contradict his version of events. When the IT department at Sacramento PD received the court order to produce the body camera files, they discovered something that would change everything. The footage was perfectly intact. Lisa Chen received a call from the prosecutor's office on a Friday afternoon that would transform Marcus's case entirely. The body camera footage had been recovered from backup systems, they claimed, and would be made available for review. Lisa knew immediately that something significant had happened. Prosecutors don't suddenly discover exonerating evidence and voluntarily hand it over unless they're facing much bigger problems. She arrived at the district attorney's office the following Monday morning to review the footage, expecting to see some version of the arrest that Martinez had described in his report. What she saw instead was complete vindication of her client's story. The footage showed Marcus being respectful and cooperative throughout the entire encounter. It showed Martinez fabricating probable cause with the marijuana claim. It showed no evidence of drug impairment, no disorderly conduct, no obstruction of justice. None of the criminal behavior that Martinez had described in his report. But most importantly, it documented exactly what Martinez would later say under oath in court. Lisa realized immediately that this wasn't just about wrongful arrest anymore. This was about a police officer who was prepared to commit perjury to secure a conviction. Rather than immediately confronting the prosecution with the body camera evidence, Lisa Chen made a strategic decision that would maximize the impact of the truth. She would let Martinez testify first, allow him to commit perjury under oath, and then destroy his credibility with his own recorded words. It was a risky strategy. If Martinez somehow discovered that the body camera footage contradicted his report, he might change his testimony or claim memory problems. But Lisa believed that Martinez's arrogance and 15 years of unchallenged testimony would lead him to lie confidently on the witness stand. She was right. Marcus's trial began on a Wednesday morning in Sacramento County Superior Court. Judge Patricia Rodriguez presided over a packed courtroom. Marcus's family, including his recovering father, filled the gallery along with several community activists who heard about the case. Assistant District Attorney Jennifer Park presented the prosecution's case with confidence. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this case is about a defendant who thought he was above the law. Marcus Williams was stopped by Officer Martinez for legitimate traffic violations, became belligerent when questioning, and was found in possession of marijuana. But Lisa Chen's opening statement planted seeds of doubt. Members of the jury, by the end of this trial, you will see that Officer Martinez's testimony contradicts the physical evidence in every material respect. You will have to decide whether a 15-year police veteran made multiple mistakes in his report or whether he deliberately fabricated evidence to justify an unconstitutional arrest. Officer Derek Martinez took the witness stand with the confidence of a man who testified in hundreds of cases over 15 years. He wore his dress uniform, his badge polished, his demeanor professional and authoritative. Prosecutor Jennifer Park led him through his credentials and experience, establishing him as a credible law enforcement professional with extensive training and an unblemished record. Officer Martinez, please describe the events of the arrest in question, Park requested. This was the moment that would destroy Martinez's career, though he had no idea what was coming. Your Honor, this thug was obviously high on drugs and threatening everyone around him, Martinez testified, pointing dismissively at Marcus. People like him always lie about police encounters because they can't accept responsibility for their criminal behavior. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Judge Rodriguez gavelled for order, but the damage was done. Martinez's choice of the word thug and his generalization about people like him revealed the racial bias that had motivated the arrest. But he wasn't finished. The defendant was driving erratically, weaving between lanes, obviously impaired. When I approached his vehicle, I could smell marijuana immediately. He became belligerent when I asked for his license, started shouting about his rights, refused to comply with my lawful orders. Every word was a lie, and Martinez was committing each lie under oath in front of a jury with his own body camera footage ready to contradict him. He kept reaching towards his waistband, acting aggressively, making threats about knowing his rights, Martinez testified. I had to arrest him for public safety. When I searched his vehicle, I found marijuana residue consistent with recent drug use. Lisa Chen watched the perjury unfold with a mixture of satisfaction and horror. Satisfaction because Martinez was sealing his own fate with every fabricated detail. Horror because this was exactly how innocent people ended up in prison, through the systematic lies of law enforcement officers who faced no consequences for their misconduct. Lisa Chen approached the witness stand with the calm confidence of an attorney who held the trump card in her case. She had Martinez's body camera footage ready to play, But first, she wanted to lock him in to his lies. Officer Martinez, your body camera was recording during this arrest, correct? Yes, all patrol officers wear body cameras. And you reviewed that footage before writing your report. Martinez hesitated. This was dangerous territory, but he couldn't admit that he'd never looked at the footage. Yes, I reviewed it. So your testimony today is consistent with what that body camera footage shows? Absolutely. Lisa had him exactly where she wanted him. Martinez had just sworn under oath that his testimony matched the body camera footage that contradicted every major claim in his testimony. Officer Martinez, you testified that Mr. Williams was driving erratically and weaving between lanes. The body camera has audio, so it recorded his exact words. Yes, it recorded his belligerent behavior. You testified that he was acting aggressively and making threats. All of this threatening behavior is captured on your body camera? Martinez was growing uncomfortable, but he'd committed to his lies. Yes, the camera shows his aggressive behavior. Lisa smiled. Your Honor, at this time I'd like to play the defendant's Exhibit A, the complete, unedited body camera footage from Officer Martinez's arrest of Marcus Williams. The courtroom fell silent as the body camera footage began playing on screens visible to the jury, gallery, and judge. What they saw was the complete opposite of Martinez's testimony. The footage showed Marcus driving normally, obeying all traffic laws, with no indication of impairment or erratic behavior. It showed him immediately pulling over when Martinez activated his lights. It captured his respectful, worried voice, asking about his father's condition at the hospital. Yes, sir, absolutely, Marcus's voice came through the courtroom speakers as he handed over his license and registration. I'm heading to the hospital. My father just had a heart attack. I wasn't speeding, was I? The jury watched Martinez demand that Marcus exit the vehicle despite no apparent violation. They heard him comply immediately, saying, "Of course, officer," and "I'm sorry, officer, I'm just worried about my dad." They watched Martinez search the entire vehicle and find nothing. They heard him fabricate the marijuana claim. They witnessed Marcus's continued cooperation despite the escalating harassment. Most damaging of all, they heard Martinez's own voice during the arrest, professional and procedural, nothing like the threatening encounter he described in his testimony. By the time the footage finished playing, Martinez's credibility was completely destroyed. The jury had watched 15 minutes of video that contradicted every substantive claim in his testimony. But Lisa Chen wasn't finished. Officer Martinez. Lisa Chen continued her cross-examination. We just watched your body camera footage. Do you still maintain that Mr. Williams was driving erratically? Martinez's face had gone pale. He was beginning to understand the magnitude of his situation. I may have been mistaken about the specific details. Mistaken? You testified under oath just 20 minutes ago that you had reviewed this footage and that your testimony was consistent with it. Were you lying then, or are you lying now? I wasn't lying. I may have confused this arrest with another one. Lisa Chen's voice rose. Officer Martinez, you confused the details of this arrest with another arrest, even though you testified that you had reviewed the body camera footage. The courtroom was watching the destruction of a police officer's credibility in real time. Martinez was trapped between his lies and the evidence, with no way to reconcile the two. The body camera footage shows you saying, "Yes, sir, absolutely," and "I'm sorry, officer." Do you still maintain that he was belligerent and shouting? Martinez's voice was barely a whisper. "The footage speaks for itself. The footage shows you found no marijuana in his vehicle. Do you still claim you found marijuana residue?" I may have been thinking of a different case." "Officer Martinez, are you telling this jury that you confused every single detail of this arrest with a different case, despite testifying that you had reviewed the footage?" Judge Rodriguez was watching the proceedings with growing concern. She'd seen police testimony challenged before, but she'd never witnessed such a complete contradiction between an officer's sworn testimony and recorded evidence. Lisa Chen delivered the final blow. "Officer Martinez, you described Mr. Williams as a thug who was obviously high on drugs. You said people like him always lie about police encounters. Do you believe that your body camera footage supports those characterizations?" Martinez couldn't answer. Every word of his testimony had been exposed as perjury, and everyone in the courtroom knew it. Judge Rodriguez declared a recess as the implications of Martinez's perjury became clear. The prosecution's case had collapsed entirely. Not only was there no evidence that Marcus had committed any crime, but their star witness had committed multiple felonies while testifying. During the recess, Assistant District Attorney Jennifer Park approached Lisa Chen with an offer that would have been unthinkable at the beginning of the trial. "We're dismissing all charges," Park said quietly. "And we're referring Officer Martinez to the State Attorney General's office for perjury prosecution." But Lisa Chen wasn't finished. "Jennifer, this isn't just about this case. How many other defendants has Officer Martinez testified against? How many of his cases need to be reviewed for potential perjury?" The question sent chills through the prosecutor's office. If Martinez had been willing to commit perjury in Marcus's case, what about the hundreds of other cases where his testimony had secured convictions? Within 48 hours, the Sacramento County District Attorney's Office announced a comprehensive review of every case involving Officer Martinez's testimony over the past 5 years. The potential for wrongful convictions was staggering. The FBI's Civil Rights Division opened an investigation into Martinez's conduct within a week of the trial. Federal prosecutors recognized that perjury in civil rights cases constituted a federal crime with serious implications for constitutional policing. Special Agent Rebecca Kim was assigned to lead the investigation. Her team's analysis of Martinez's arrest reports over the past 5 years revealed a disturbing pattern. Arrests of minority suspects that followed suspiciously similar narratives, with body camera footage that was frequently unavailable due to technical problems. "We're looking at systematic civil rights violations," Agent Kim told her supervisor. "Martinez's body camera conveniently malfunctioned in 17 arrests over 2 years, and 15 of those arrests involved Black or Hispanic suspects." The technical analysis was even more damaging. Sacramento PD's IT forensics team discovered that Martinez's body camera had never actually malfunctioned. The technical problems were the result of Martinez deliberately powering off the device before arrests he knew would be problematic. In Marcus Williams's case, Martinez had forgotten to disable his body camera, creating the evidence that would destroy his career and expose his pattern of misconduct. 6 months after Marcus's arrest, a federal grand jury indicted Derek Martinez on multiple charges: civil rights violations under color of law, perjury in federal court proceedings, obstruction of justice, conspiracy to violate civil rights. The federal charges carried potential sentences of up to 20 years in prison. Martinez's pattern of misconduct had evolved from routine constitutional violations to systematic criminal behavior. U.S. Attorney Michael Chang announced the indictment at a press conference that drew national attention. Police officers who abuse their authority and then lie about it under oath represent a fundamental threat to our justice system. Officer Martinez's conduct violated not only his oath as a law enforcement officer, but the constitutional rights of every citizen he targeted. The investigation had also revealed the scope of Martinez's misconduct. Federal prosecutors identified 47 cases where his testimony appeared to contradict available evidence, leading to the potential exoneration of dozens of wrongfully convicted defendants. Martinez's federal trial began 18 months after his perjury in Marcus Williams' case. The evidence against him was overwhelming. Dozens of cases where his arrest reports contradicted body camera footage, systematic patterns of targeting minority suspects, and documented instances of evidence fabrication. Marcus Williams testified as a prosecution witness, describing how Martinez's lies had cost him his job, his reputation, and nearly his freedom. His testimony was powerful, but it was just one example of Martinez's systematic misconduct. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours before returning guilty verdicts on all counts. Martinez was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison and ordered to pay $890,000 in restitution to his victims. Judge Sara Martinez, no relation, delivered a scathing condemnation during sentencing. Officer Martinez, you violated the most fundamental principle of law enforcement, the duty to serve and protect all citizens equally. Your perjury didn't just threaten individual defendants, it undermined the integrity of our entire justice system. The Martinez case triggered systematic reforms throughout California law enforcement. The state legislature passed the Police Accountability and Transparency Act, requiring mandatory body camera activation during all law enforcement encounters, automatic disciplinary action for body camera malfunctions, independent review of all cases involving officers with credibility issues, and enhanced perjury penalties for law enforcement officers. Marcus Williams became an advocate for criminal justice reform, speaking at law schools and police academies about the intersection of racial bias and police misconduct. His case study became required reading in constitutional law courses across the country. "What happened to me happens to people every day," Marcus told audiences. The only difference was that Officer Martinez forgot to turn off his body camera. How many innocent people are in prison because their officers remembered to disable the recording? The Sacramento Police Department terminated 23 officers whose cases showed patterns similar to Martinez's misconduct. The comprehensive review led to 127 conviction reversals and $34 million in civil rights settlements. Most importantly, the case established legal precedent that police officers who commit perjury face federal prosecution regardless of their years of service or previous record. The Martinez precedent was cited in civil rights cases across the country. 5 years after his arrest, Marcus Williams had rebuilt his life and career. He founded a nonprofit organization that provides legal support for victims of police misconduct, funded by his settlement from the city of Sacramento. His father, Robert, had recovered fully from his heart attack and lived to see his son become a national advocate for justice. "I'm proud of how you handled all this," Robert told Marcus. "You could have been bitter, but instead, you chose to help other people." Derek Martinez served 8 years of his federal sentence before being released on